in 2011. We'll see who's going to win that this year. Whether it will be Daybreak again, somehow doubt it. But we do have none other than the Spaniard. I forgot his team once again. It is Luzifron here, Karate or something along those lines. And as you can see, he recently won the Gathering. A great win for him. Trains with his brother Vortex within this matchup, though. His brother does play Zerg, and this guy is an amazing guy. And apparently lent 2 good money once at BlizzCon. Interesting fact for you there, guys. And in the top right,
you should be taking notes, guys. We're going to ask a random question.
Then Millennium Stephano, arguably, the best non-Korean, the best foreigner, has received a Codes invite for the next month or so, where he will travel over to Korea. Has 1 more year within StarCraft 2, extended his year, and he likes croissants. So Stephano going for it this game, whether he'll be able to go the distance against the Spaniard. It's croissants versus, I don't know what they eat in Spain. I don't know. I went to Spain, and they ate a lot of fish. But I think that was because I was in Valencia, and it was like by the sea. So, I don't know.
I just like how we're having trouble with Luzifron's team name, and yet Stephano knows his full name and types it out. Good luck, have fun, Pedro.
Yeah, that's typical Stephano. But
Stephano,
so far, we have a bit of a wall-off here for Luzifron. There's no reason not to wall-off here. I'm interested to see, though, because Daybreak is a very passive map. You don't necessarily need to take gases. And he's actually not going to be taking gases here, so he will be going for 1 barracks expansion. We talked about it being a very slow, passive map. You don't need gases. The only thing you do want it for later is deny creep spread, but the early stages, you're fine to get away with a 1 barracks command center. Luzifron's play, though, if I was to describe Luzifron, I think he resembles 4GG the most of his style. 4GG, very aggressive, multiple prong attacks, crazy strategies, but then always backs up with very solid timings and very smart play. So we'll see how that's gonna go ahead against such a solid stone of Stephano.
That's certainly going to be interesting, especially since Stephano, has had so much experience, versus Terran recently. Of course, with his big rivalry, Polt, where it's always been a nail biter in the finals through and through, as it's always gone down to the wire between the two. So certainly has quite a few games versus Terran under his belt. We're waiting to see a little bit how this develops, though, as the wall-off is being completed for Luzifron, making his command center on the low ground. So definitely confident that there's not going to be any truly early aggression coming out of Stephano.
And usually the typical follow-up from Luzifron is to grab double gases, because you do actually need Hellions out eventually. You need to slow the creep spread down. I'd be very surprised if he threw down additional barracks. That, basically tells us he's just going to go for a full-out attack here. He could, as the last option, throw down a 3rd command center here and play, a very slow, very economy-focused style, and I think that's what we're going to see actually here. So there's a 3rd command center, and Stephano has actually been shown it a lot recently, if anybody follows his stream, that he's actually not afraid to get aggressive early on. Be Roach Baneling, Roachling, whatever he chooses, depending on how he feels the map is going.
And we're going to see here as he does manage to pick off the SCV in the bottom right. So this is going to open up some questions for Luzifron as to what Stephano's game plan is. But, you're absolutely right. It's really the ball's in Stephano's court now, as we, of course, are partial to information that he is not. We see the 3rd command center, so it's really going to be interesting to see how Stephano decides to follow things up with his initial opening of speed first.
No drone going down towards the 3rd base yet, but remember, Stephano doesn't know what's going on yet, whether this be straight to double gas, whether this be, straight up to the factory, or add on a bunch of extra barracks. So he's very much so in the dark, so you don't really want to grab a 3rd base in the dark here, and there's a second gas going down. He's going back into the first one. We may actually see some Roach aggression come out here by Stephano, so we'll have to follow tabs on that. And especially because, if he plays towards the 9 times out of 10 the style that Terrans play on a map like Daybreak, they will usually grab an early 3rd command center, and there's the Roach one coming down by Stephano, so it looks like we are going to see some Roach Baneling play here, and the Baneling nest should be a follow-up, of course, to this, and it could get him a very easy win here, but it's going to come down to the defense.
Just gets the supply depot up. That's too bad that Zergling hadn't got in there. Did he manage to see the command center, though, seeing as how the Zergling made it to the top of the ramp? And he did see it. He did see the 3rd command. Now Stephano knows exactly what is happening here in his opponent's base.
And he actually saw additional barracks too, which means that wasn't a fast factory follow-up, which actually may push him towards Banelings here. Hasn't thrown down the Baneling nest yet, and actually going to throw down a 3rd base. So This is super interesting here from Stephano. He may have actually just gone ahead and say, screw it. You know, I'm not sure if this is the right option to do. He only has 3 roaches being built. Double evolution chamber has gone down. I think he's just going to bite the bullet here and just kind of play toe-to-toe.
That's really interesting to see here. And no, you're absolutely right. That we're just going to have to see as things unfold. Double Evo down, as you said, and we'll see if he goes for like the double upgrades, as I'm sure he will start just a moment as Melee goes down to start, followed by the Carapace.
It's a very smooth play here from Stephano because he could have thrown down a Baroness. He could have used the gas in Bailings, but at the same time, he banked up gas, which easily transfers over to double upgrade. So very, very smooth play from Stephano, but you know, shows multiple different angles. We now see the barracks kicking in. He's got a couple of motors there for defensive reasons too. But there's the first factory coming down, and I would not be surprised to immediately go straight into Medivacs here. And with this third command center aggressively throwing it down, he also has, keep in mind, Semler, 1-1 upgrades here ahead of Stephano.
This is very interesting.
And, you know, he can throw down an armory now and go straight into 2-2, but it's a very greedy play from Luzifron, especially because he's spreading himself so thin through grabbing this third base. But the way that Stephano's playing, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah, Stephano's deciding to be like, okay, well, we can go toe-to-toe on this. I feel perfect. You know, we've seen it in the past. I'm perfectly happy macroing as well. We can go aggressive, or we can just go ahead and be very passive and take our time about this and draw it out. You know, why end the pleasure so soon?
Yeah, and I'm sure the decision for Stephano not to be aggressive was like, I think I'm the better player. I don't need to take a risk. You know, we can play late game. That's fine by me.
This may be a mano-a-mano game of chicken here. You know?
Yeah. And roach speed coming down too. Interesting here by Stephano. Actually going to dedicate to roaches. Well, not really dedicate to them, but have quite a decent force within them so they can help and tank a bit of damage and then allow the lings to come around. And the infestors kind of survive longer because of the roaches there that actually take the majority of the pain here. No fourth base though from Stephano, considering he knows about this third command center. I'm interested to see what Stephano's going to do here, whether he goes straight into Hive as the infestation pit finishes, or whether he tries to do 3 base aggression right now. His drone count's at 68, which is pretty damn good, but you know, the income rise, look at this. You know, Luzifron has quite a big lead because of this third base being down.
Yeah, mules are good, I heard. As yeah, no, it would just appear that the creep is being spread out, so Stephano, being mindful of that, definitely going to give him more vision and allow his units to move around faster on the map, which is so very important as a Zerg player. And we do have a little pack of Lings making its way up to the top of the map. Doesn't look like they're really going to do any damage. It's just to kind of get a poke and get a feel for what Luzifron is up to. And he sees the extra gas on this third base. And, you know, seeing that, what do you think is going through Stephano's mind right now?
Absolutely nothing aside from this guy's got a good economy that he can afford to get the gases on this third base.
Wow, those Lings actually did quite a bit more than I thought they would.
6 kills there. We do have Marina in the standings taking the Zelnogga Tower away. And Luzifron has pretty good map control so far. And I'm still interested to see how the Spaniard's going to play, because Stephano hasn't taken the 4th base. You know, he's now only just now taken it, but that's late. He's got a lot of money and time invested into an army, as we can see being built. 3 infestors and 30 lings coming here with 2-2 on the way, and he actually had to kill a creature to get that hatchery down in the center there. But Luzifron's in good position as soon as 2-2 finishes here, so even if Stephano tries to be aggressive, he may just be wanting to accept an army, a push from his opponent. Not necessarily be aggressive with it, but so far toe-to-toe between these guys, you can see, you know, the income relatively equal now. Stephano does saturate these 3 bases perfectly and actually grabs the 4th and 5th at the same time.
Yeah, very nice play. And also to note is that the 2-2 upgrades are on the way for Luzifron, and close behind is Stephano with his own. So, you know, very on top of their upgrades at this point in time. Infestors are being produced as well.
No tanks, though, whatsoever. Only tanks just coming down. Second factory being put down so you can actually catch up in tanks. That's the first tank being researched here. So this army, you know, is very, very, well, it's under a lot of damage.
We do have
infestors
there.
Everything. There's a drop at the north side, too. Ling's already there to wait for this. And there's the funnel growth, and this army's going to get shredded.
Yeah, look at this choke. That's the thing. It's beautiful here. I mean,
4-2-2.
Deciding to go in, as you said, before 2-2 and into a choke. Nonetheless, with infestors there at the top of the ramp, they could not ask for a better engagement for Stephano, and he is just going to go ahead and clean this up in the top. this drop that was destined to do some kind of economic damage is just going to be rendered useless.
And that takes the sting out of Luzifron's play. I mean, even though he hasn't really lost that much, he's lost the sting of his army, where it's not a scary army anymore. This is actually really easy to break down, and look at this. Luzifron has to be so careful. He is dropping and concentrating on the drop on the natural, but his army is about to get fungal growth tearing these spreads actually nicely, but there's just too much stuff here, Semler.
Nice. Infested Terrans going down, fungals as well, and will he lose the Medivacs? Luzifron, very nicely done there with his Marauder. The last parting blow was to snipe one Infestor, so there's a little bit of a trade there, but good, tricky dude. Look at this cheeky placement of those units there. Just one ling at a time, having to be funneled in, but finally the Medivac goes down, and that harassment will come to an end.
And if we look at the units lost here, it's clearly, units lost in favor, I suppose you could say, of Luzifron, that has the highest amount, but of course that's better for Stephano. And but the thing is, though, that that's not that much money lost, and he has a 4th base. He has a 5th command center coming down, so Luzifron, even though losing units, can easily replenish this kind of force, and Stephano needs to build towards this late-game army, which he's chosen to be Ultralisk, which is a very interesting decision considering the amount of Marauders that his opponent has seen here. That basically tells us that Stephano can't mess up with fungal growths. He has to nail them, otherwise these Marauders are just going to do way too much damage and survive way too long.
Absolutely. I love how on top of their upgrades they are, though. To be honest, look at this. They're neck and neck, 3 and 3. Their armies are going to be just so powerful. And just to make certain that we are looking at the same thing, yes, we are. Ling's here to wait for the drop. And this drop is actually going to make its way pretty deep into the base and begin dropping right around the hive. In the meantime, in the bottom of the map, Infester's here waiting for it. Will he be able to snag it? Yes, he will. Infested Terran's going down, and that drop will be denied as the 2 dropships at the top get cleaned up as well.
Well, that's the most stupid tank I've ever seen.
Dude, it's a hero tank. Check this out. What is going on?
Oops.
Lings are like, sweet, freebie, thanks.
But Stephano does clean up the drop in the bottom there, so the Infested Terrans do pick up the kill, and the drop still remains, but very, very weak drop here with only 2 Medivacs with light follow units. At the same time, Luzifron stimming, getting rid of some creep tumors, and is about to take a 5th base. And at this stage of the game, it actually becomes very difficult for Zerg players. There's a lot of narrow choke points, of course, and the tanks are going to play a lot more bigger role.
Are the Roaches going to manage to get it?
They don't even get the tank.
Oh, the tank just barely makes it out.
But the Ultralists here, if they catch any units out of position here, such as these tanks unsieged, then I don't know about this.
This is very interesting here as both armies circumnavigate each other, and it looks like the Ultras are going to try and go into the base here, the 5th base for Luzifron. In the meantime, Luzifron stimming up into the natural. It looks like that base will go down, but the damage is being done to Stephano's natural with the full brunt of Luzifron's force going after the Ultralisk Cavern, and it goes down.
This trade is so good for Luzifron because he has another base at the top left if he just gets rid of this Ling, and he's now only traded 1 base for the Ultralisk Cavern, a spawning pool, potentially Infestation Pit 2 here.
Finally some fungals going down, but that is going to be so very close. And it does look like he finally manages to get the kill there. Stephano finally going to clean that force up, but the damage has been done. Macro Hatch going down, Ultralisk Cavern, spawning pool as well.
I don't know, actually. Now that this commencate hasn't gone down, that Luzifron's economy took too much of a hit there, and he's not being able to replenish that army fast enough, especially when
he's going to get 2 freebie tanks
caught,
as well.
I think Luzifron may actually lose this from here, but he just doesn't have enough units to back this up.
So many Ultras out on the field. They're making their way through here. And I think these 3 are just going to be freebies, but the follow-up, the brothers are going to come with a vengeance, and it looks like Stephano is saying, okay, yeah, fine, you can go ahead and siege up there. I'll just make my way up top to the 3rd, and he is going to try and clean this up as the Infestors waddle their way into the fight as well.
Yeah, and throughout this, the key thing to note here, guys, is that Stephano had so much money in the bank, is that he's able to build 7 Ultralists behind this, and Luzifron's down on resources, and just doesn't have the right amount of money to be able to replenish the army, which is the reason why his army is so small now. And
3 burrows of Ling into that base. That is the most frustrating thing. How can a command center not land on a freaking Ling? I mean, it's like crushing a roach with a boot. How does that work?
It's actually maybe game set here. Good fungal growth down, and the Ultralisk get right up close here. Fully upgraded Ultralisk, going to do a lot of damage here. Of course, Marauder's doing good damage too, but
a lot of
7 more Ultralisks about to come in, and I don't think there's an answer for 7 more Ultralisks.
That is quite a few Medivacs, though. Look at this. The Marine Marauder force definitely surviving much longer than it should have, and it looks like Stephano's going to lose a lot of Infestors, and that is so unfortunate. Follow-up scan will net the lot And that is actually a pretty big blow, seeing as how now Stephano has to put that gas into making more of them. Although we do have a few little Brofester hit squad waddling its way up top.
And the army size once again still in favor for Stephano. Oh god, keyboard's gone crazy. 90 drones spread across 5 bases is of course incredible here for Stephano.
Yeah,
Keeps a couple of infestors too. Luzifron, if he manages to get that planetary fortress and manages to siege up with all tanks, this could be better for him, but
no, Stephano's just going to brute force it. The Ultralisks are going to crush through all of these tanks, and this base is not long for this world, as Stephano even negating the mules. Look at this, forcing Luzifron all the way back up into his natural, and this is a better position to defend from, but the damage in the meantime is just massive. It looks like Stephano did manage to snag the base, and now, as you said, he has so many drones spread out across the map. His economy, he can just keep brute forcing Luzifron at this point and just not even worry about it. He'll just keep throwing units and pummel Luzifron into the ground.
And Stephano just doesn't take losses with his drops. That's the underline of this game, and GG.